The opening act of the 2005 World Mountain Running Trophy, presented by the New Zealand Community Trust, was a traffic-stopping parade of nations on the Friday before Sunday's main event. With over 230 athletes interspersed with coaches and officials from the 28 participating countries and countless New Zealand supporters, it made a colourful sight of these most fittest of people headed to Civic Square and the official welcome and formalities that befit such a prestigious event. Coinciding with the Mountain Running Trophy was the World of Wearable Arts extravaganza. This was visiting Wellington for the first time. If the regular Wellington lunchtime crowd were amazed by the world's best mountain runners, their jaws positively dropped when confronted by the furtive minds behind some of these amazing costumes. Wellington, New Zealand's capital city, is fast becoming the event capital as well. This beautiful, vibrant, colourful city built around a natural harbour basin is the home of the New Zealand Parliament. It's also the home of a very vibrant art and theatre community, easily seen by the theatres and sculptures dotted around the cityscape. Welcome to New Zealand's harbour capital, Wellington, the home for the 2005 World Mountain Running Trophy. Below us, an Oriental Parade is the epicentre of the event, and thousands upon thousands of Wellingtonians test their aerobic fitness there every day. But for today, it's the home of 230 elite mountain runners. They'll come up here to Mount Victoria, way up in the sky. It's a brutal course, and it'll test the very best. Let's have a closer look at it. The only part of the 4.3 kilometre course that can be considered flat is the opening 400 metre stretch along Oriental Parade, a 90-degree turn, and it's into Hay Street and the first of the brutal climbs. The climbing continues long onto the dirt trails after the road has stopped, crossing Pallister Road and then heading towards the summit of Mount Victoria, some 210 metres above sea level. There's a brief respite for the athletes as they plunge downhill before retracing their steps and heading back to Mount Victoria. This is the very top of the 2005 World Mountain Running course, and it's a long way up. For the runners, it's all downhill from here, save for another small little climb. Let's go and see what the top athletes think of the course.
I think a lot of athletes who are out here for these championships are more used to the uphill only races, so we've all got to kind of come to terms with that. But yeah, it's a really fast downhill. It's going to be really exciting to watch, so yeah, I'm looking forward to that, and just got to get the legs moving fast enough.
I've trained around the course a lot. I know my strengths. I mean, I can run up a hill, downhill I've had to work on, so I'll just have to see what happens in the day.
Mountain running is probably a little bit different in that you've really got to be careful that you don't use everything on that first lap, because you've still got to climb it another two or three times, so yeah, it makes it hard.
We'll be showing you 4 races this afternoon. First up, the junior women. Let's go to the start. Well, there is the New Zealand team in their customary black. I can tell you there's been all sorts of drama just before the start of the junior women's team. There was a lot of talk among the officials and the concerned team managers that the Russian team wouldn't make it here. They only arrived in the country last night at 11:30, and the defending champion, Julia Makalova, that's her on your screen now, she didn't have breakfast this morning. She hasn't had an adequate warm-up, but already she is in the front as they work up through the hardest part of the climb. 1 lap for the junior women, 4.3 kilometres, and this is the trail as they work towards the summit now at Mount Victoria, 210 metres above sea level. There is Makalova, and as I said, some real dramas on the start. She nearly missed her reporting time, but she is in control of this as she was last year in the World Mountain Running Trophy. Last year it was Italy. For 2005 it is only the second time in the history of the sport that the World Mountain Running Trophy has come to the Southern Hemisphere, and here it is here in New Zealand. Best of the New Zealand girls looks to be Ruth Croft at the moment. And this course is brutal. Parts of asphalt interspersed with vicious down and uphill sections on dirt and grass, and this is one of the steepest parts. This is heading up toward the trig station. This is the very highest part of the course. Turkey expected to do well here in the junior women, but the Russians are the favourites, and look for a good team performance from the Slovenians as well. So this very picturesque course, but very testing course, heading towards the very highest point of it now. This is number 280. This is Eleanor Kirk from Wales. So they've come from near and far to Wellington, to windy Wellington, you've got to say, at the top of the hill, though it's a beautiful day down at race headquarters at Oriental Parade. Eleanor Kirk there from Wales, still currently sitting in around about 14th place. Number 278 going through there is Mary Hellersley from the United States of America. 13 countries represented in the junior women's field, and there is one of the favourites, number 252. This is Hanna Juraskova from the Czech Republic. Everyone told us that the Czech Republic would be right up there in the teams, but it is this young lady out in command of this one, the defending champion from Russia, and she looks like she is going to make it 2 for 2 in the World Mountain Running Trophy races, because she has got a clear lead now from number 272 in second place, and that's one of the Slovenians. That is Matija Kozlovai, and right in behind her is the Turkish girl, and that is Julia Ongan. So the Turks starting to come into consideration as well. Quite fitting that the Turks do well here in Wellington, because they will host the World Mountain Running Trophy next year. Brief respite for the athletes, the majority of the climbing done. It's essentially one climb and then a flat section and then another pinch, and then it's downhill to the finish. For the junior women, it's just the one lap. There is Ruth Croft from Canterbury. She's the best performed of the New Zealand junior women at the moment, and look at the way she stretches out on the downhills. It's all about individual performance, but it's all about points as well. One of the French girls coming through, but at the moment it is still the Russian, last year's champion, out in the front. This is Yulia Mokhtalova, another one of the New Zealand junior women's contingent going through. But here is the red uniform of the Russian. She won last year in Italy. She's going to win here in New Zealand, but she isn't going to have it all her own way, because the Slovenian's going to push her all the way. Now she comes up onto her toes. This is Julia Mokhtalova from Russia. She had all the dramas in the world getting here, but she's shown them a clean pair of heels, and she's going to win it easily. So Russia draws first blood in the World Mountain Running Trophy. Second place, it will be Matija Kozlovai from Slovenia, and in third place, I think it'll be the Turk. There's the best of the New Zealanders. This is Ruth Croft from Canterbury, and right in behind her it's number 253 from England, and that was Rachel Thompson. So there are the official results. It's the Russians on top.
Проблемы были с перелетом, мы только ночью вчера прилетели. Вот, и я прям не ожидала, что я выиграю. Для меня это фантастически, можно так сказать.
Travel problem.
It's fantastic because yesterday was problem with flying.
Well, Ruth, great performance. First New Zealand junior woman home. How was the course?
Pretty tough, yeah. Uphill especially.
It was quite windy at the top. What was that like?
It wasn't too bad, it's just, yeah, it's hard.
Well, we've already seen a fantastic junior women's race here for the 2005 World Mountain Running Trophy. Coming up after the break, it's the turn of the junior men. Welcome back to Wellington, the home of the 2005 World Mountain Running Trophy. Behind me, the junior men's field are lining up, and there's one athlete to watch for. He's number 325. He is Juan Carlos Carrera from Mexico. So the junior men are lining up, ready to go. The traditional black of New Zealand. There is Juan Carlos Carrera from Mexico. There's no way the Mexicans are going to win the teams competition, because he is the only Mexican there. And speaking of the teams competition, a very vital part of World Mountain Running Trophy, and I can tell you that it was the Slovenians that took out the junior women's teams race from the Russian. The Russian girl won the event, but the Slovenians were the more consistent. This, though, is the men slogging their way up towards the summit here at Mount Victoria, 210 metres above sea level. And there is the Mexican, and you notice that he's running in tights. Obviously thought that it was going to be a little bit chillier than it was here in Wellington today. Good performance from the New Zealand team there, up in the top 10 as they work their way up to the summit. It's the Italian out in the front though, by the look of it. Let's have a look as we get a look at the race number as they work their way through the trees. I think that is Martin de Menteus. You can see the forward body lean, these boys working hard. The future of athletics throughout the world. Italy has a very prestigious record in the team's competition in the senior men and the junior men's racing. But last year, as a 15-year-old, the Mexican Juan Carlos Carrera was dominant. So there is the race leader, and this is Jan Hamir from the Czech Republic. And it looks like it is Vedat Gunin from Turkey moving into second place. The Mexican just sitting in behind the Italian twins, that is Martin and also Bernard de Menteus. There is Bernard. First of the New Zealanders coming through by the look of it there. And I think that is number 326. And that is Hayden McLaren. So that's a good performance for Hayden. Heading back downhill now, and it's still the Czech Republic in the front. The Mexican struggling a little bit there, and you can see he is running in tight, so he'd be feeling the heat and the pressure, I would think. Number 329 for New Zealand goes through, Aaron Jackson. So the New Zealanders looking good in the mid-bunch, but this is the battle for the minors. The Mexican, Juan Carlos Carrera there, so too one of the Italian twins. This is the battle for first, second and third at the moment, but it is the Turkish young man that looks a little bit better. Down the inside he makes the pass stick on one of the cultured dirt trails as they pour it on, heading down the hill now. 9.1 kilometres the distance for the junior men. They'll cut it out in around about the 35-36 minute mark, so the pace is on from the very start. Number 313 Benjamin Croet from France. 17 countries represented in the junior men's competition. One of the Australians going through there, number 304, Steve Parcelich. New Zealand is running well as team. Remember, the top 3 athletes count for the team. Number 329, one of the best performed of the Kiwis, and this is Aaron Jackson. Right in behind him, it is Matt Singleton, and we look too for Brendan Blacklaws. They're the 3 New Zealanders. This man, though, has seen that he's got victory within his sights. This is Vedat Gunin from Turkey, just 16 years of age. He took the lead on one of the difficult off-camber downhill turns. He comes back down Oriental Terrace and onto Oriental Parade to complete the first of 2 laps. The Italians chasing hard. So too Jason Amir from the Czech Republic, back in about 4th or 5th. The Mexican looks like he's struggling just a little bit. A lot heavier build than his competition. And now the brutal climb up Hay Street. Well, the television cameras don't do it justice, but it is a brutal, brutal climb. And it is starting to tell on some of the athletes. And long after the asphalt finishes, the climb continues up the dirt trails and then onto the grass. As they work their way across Pallister Road, back out onto the trails they go again. Race leader goes through, the Mexican Juan Carlos Carrera just starting to close the gap up a little bit, up to the highest point of the lap now. This is up by the Mount Victoria summit, 210 metres above sea level, and it is still Vedat Gunin from Turkey. The Mexican looking pretty safe in second place, and that is Juan Carlos Carrera. A well-needed drink for the race leader. There's the best of the New Zealanders going through, number 329, and that is Aaron Jackson. So the New Zealanders running in a good grouping. That's a good effort for the team's situation. Remember, the top 3 athletes count. This is the race leader, though. The strain starting to tell. The strain certainly telling on the Mexican, the 16-year-old Juan Carlos Carrera. Here is Vedat Gunan though. Big crowd in support here in Wellington, New Zealand's capital city, the home of the 2005 World Mountain Running Trophy. And we've got to tell you that in alternate years, it's either a predominantly up course or an up and down course. This is an up and down course. The Mexican won last year in Italy. That was a predominantly uphill course. He's not going to win this time unless something dramatic happens to Vedat Gunan from Turkey. There is the New Zealand contingent, but this man, he has got it won. Vedat Gunan heads down Oriental Terrace. He'll join onto Oriental Parade, and then it'll be a flat run through to the finish. There is the Mexican. He won last year in Italy. He's got to be content with second this time round. Up on his toes. He's happy. The Turkish junior man comes through and wins it. Vedat Gunan, congratulations from a big Turkish contingent here. Of course, they're going to host the trophy next year. Mexico's Juan Carlos Carrera has got to be content with second this time round. He was the champion last year through, and in third place it's Martin de Mantius from Italy, and I think it'll be his twin brother coming through in fourth place, and that will be Bernard. Best of the New Zealanders across the finish line, number 329, and that was Aaron Jackson. So great performance for Vedat Gunan from Turkey. He takes the win from Juan Carlos Carrera and Martin de Mantius.
He is ready to this very special competition because we are trying on the map first and on the profile, and he was checking that Mexican all the time, and he was sure he will be the winner at that time.
Allá en Italia fue pura subida, algo muy fácil, y aquí sí estuvo algo difícil.
For him, the downhill is not good. On the uphill, he's good, and it was easy last year, but this year is tough.
The crowd was amazing, eh? It was just great, just coming down like that, but there is just huge, eh? It was awesome.
Coming up next, it is the senior men, and the defending world champion gets to strut his stuff on home soil. We're talking about none other than Jonathan Wyatt. Moments away from the start of the senior men's race here at the World Mountain Running Trophy, and all the hopes are on the New Zealand team, led by the four-time world champion Jonathan Wyatt. Before the race started, we caught up with him.
Probably any one of half a dozen runners who could be right there on the day. And it's this sort of course as well certainly plays into some people's hands, more than others. So I think it's going to be a pretty open race, and there's going to be a few people looking around and seeing what everyone else is doing for a while during the race.
Well, this is the one that the big crowd have been waiting for, and that crowd around about 10,000 strong now as we watch the elite men's race get underway. And it's a good start by Jonathan Wyatt by the look of it, currently sitting up in about 5th or 6th spot as they work their way around Oriental Parade and up into Hayes Street. Looks like one of the Czech Republic athletes out in the front. We'll pick them up as soon as we get them a little bit closer. Jonathan Wyatt, of course, the defending world champion, but this is the first time he has raced on his home soil, and it's the first time he is having a bid to be a world champion for a 5th time, but it is an up and down course. As I told you before, alternately it is an uphill course or an up and down course. This is an up and down course, and it's a little bit of unknown territory for Jonathan Wyatt, although he's grown up and trained around Mount Victoria since he was about 6 or 7 years of age, and that's him in the familiar black singlet in about 5th place at the moment. One of the Czech Republic athletes out in the front as they work their way and climb steadily up towards the highest point on the course. Then they go down for the best part of a half a kilometre, and then they turn and climb back towards Mount Victoria again. And it's an Australian out in the front.